Welcome back to the Sankofa Cultural Collective podcast with me, Nasi Reko Brobe, filming from the High Commission of Barbados to the Republic of Ghana. And today might just be my favorite guest so far. I don't know how to describe her. She is a cultural anthropologist. She is a writer. She is a historical expert when it comes to the history of our cloths. Need I go on? Today we have Madam Mame Mintah with us, and I'm going to let her introduce herself a little. So, Mame, please tell us how you would describe yourself, actually, because I just can't do it justice.
I think that the names that you're giving me is above my qualification. I really do not know what I do, but they say I'm a cultural artist and I accept it. I think it's a fancy name, and I'm an educator. And what do I do?
You write.
I write.
You curate,
Yes, I write.
Courses.
I write.
You travel and like.
I travel. That's another best part of the job. I travel. I get to travel. I get to meet people that ordinarily I would not meet. So I enjoy everything that I do.
So as you can see, our podcast room has actually been transformed with some of these vibrant materials, which Mame will actually tell us all have different meanings. So, Mame, I'm very curious because this is not a conventional career path. So how did you get to this point? What were you doing before, and how did that kind of transform into your passion for these textiles and the stories behind them and how they represent the different tribes and ethnicities, not just of Ghana, but of Africa and beyond?
So I used to work with the Garvin Nkrumah Fellowship Program.
Oh, okay.
So I was their country representative. But before that, I was working with an NGO.
Okay.
And we work with street kids and marginalized women. So this program was exciting because it was different from what I was used to. It was on law programs. I mean, I had to take them to Supreme Court, take them to Cape Coast Castles, and do other things.
And when you say them, you mean the students coming in from abroad to Ghana?
Yes, the students coming in. But after going to Supreme Court and High Court, I don't think that the kids had acquired the information that they needed, because coming from America, they are used to better buildings.
Okay.
There was nothing that is extraordinary apart from the trips to Cape Coast, Akwamufi, and stuff like that. So I said to myself, why don't you take them to a chief's palace and see how justice is administered in a traditional way, thinking that I'm a Ghanaian and I know what I'm talking about. But it turns out that I was also very ignorant of how traditional authorities administer justice. And the first day, there wasn't a court session. It was just to introduce us to the building and how they arrange their seats and how the king sits and all of that. It was beautiful, even without anything happening. So another group came, and I was supposed to take them. So we had incorporated it in our itinerary. So we dressed up, high heels, suits, and we had the cases beforehand. So one of the cases that we were interested in was a divorce case. We wanted to see how traditional authorities would listen to a divorce case. And before we went, we already had a preconceived notion. We knew that these people don't understand the law and they were just going to, settle it anyhow. But we want to go and teach them due process.
So you're basically saying, you as kind of westernized individuals, you want to teach, traditional indigenous Ghanaians
proper law.
Proper law.
Oh, okay. To us, it was proper law.
Yeah.
So we carry ourselves in our bars, and then we go to this community. Everybody's wearing traditional clothes, and so we looked different. Even though our skins were black, we looked different. And they were also happy to see us. But then they didn't call the case. And when it was time for the divorce case, they just called the woman and the man, and they stood up and they said, "Okay, so we'll see you in 2 weeks' time." 2 weeks' time. We got a bus and drove all the way to this place, only for you to tell the people that 2 weeks time. What do you mean by 2 weeks time? So obviously we raised an objection. And then one one elderly man with broken teeth just comes and says, "Where Musomu free?"
So please translate for our
Yeah, so like these people, where are they from? Simple things as fabrics you can interpret. And I am the person leading the group. So obviously the students turn to me to find out what he's trying to say. I have no idea. No idea. I know he said fabric, but what does it mean? Because now I'm as confused as the student, and I'm supposed to be the one in charge of this whole program. So I asked another gentleman who is close to me, and then he said, "Oh, the man's fabric says he's sorry. The woman's fabric says she can't coexist. Part of it is saying she cannot coexist." Very, very confused. And then after the whole event, the chief calls us to his small court and explains to us the importance of the material culture in administering justice. I'm listening for the first time as these students. And so they started asking me, so how come I don't know? I live in Ghana, was born in Ghana, go to school in Ghana, eat Ghana, talk Ghana, speak Chi, do everything. Proud Ghanaian. I think I carry myself as a very proud Ghanaian. I don't even have an English name. So
that you didn't even know the cloth had meanings, or you
no,
just
I know
knew
the cloth has meanings. I have experienced that when I had my third child, and then I moved to Ekropon to stay with my grandmother. 2 days to the outdooring, she asked me to bring the fabric out. I brought it out and she said, "You cannot wear this." I was really angry. So she buys a new and gets the seamstress to make it for me. And I remember everybody saying, "Oh, your fabric is nice, your fabric is nice," but I didn't take it serious. I knew during my time in Ekropon that fabrics do have meanings, but as to its importance, I didn't care. So when we went there and they started talking about the textile, and everybody was surprised that you claim you're educated, you're coming to teach us law, and you can't even tell basic things as fabric. I mean, I was embarrassed personally. I was embarrassed because how come I'm not taking notice of something as important as the meanings of fabric? But I knew that I would not put myself through something like that anymore. I would rather learn about my culture and also be able to teach others proudly. And so I decided to come back home and then just read about it, not going to sweep that incident under the carpet. I took it serious.
You've said a lot, and I think it's interesting. It's almost as if through discovering the meanings of the fabrics, you were reconnecting. Some people say reconnecting with their ancestors, reconnecting with who you are and where you're from. Because, I think a lot of us in Africa and the diaspora, with each generation that passes, we become more and more separated from certain aspects of culture. I mean, just earlier, there was a material outside, you told me the meaning, and I was thinking, if I'd known that this is what it meant, I wouldn't have been wearing it the way I've been wearing it. Because I just thought, oh, I like the colors. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So the first time that I had done the research and kept it in the house. And we went to one of these December events, those festivals, and we saw a group of African Americans, about 12 or 15 young, beautiful girls, and they had on Kofi Annan, and they made a very hot pants out of that.
So for context, what does Kofi Annan mean?
So Kofi Annan is the brain of Kofi Annan.
Yes.
Kofi Annan is the former UN General Secretary, former UN Secretary General. And that fabric was made to promote Black excellence. And so you don't have to wear it just anyhow. You have to wear it when you're giving speeches, when you're celebrating something that you worked hard for. So you cannot make it into any kind of skimpy outfit because there are so many materials that can be made into those things. And so I saw them, and because the theme was also African something something, so everybody was wearing that. And I mean, they looked good in what they were wearing, but something about that material got me to speak to them. So I called one of them and said, "Do you know what you're wearing?" And he said, "It's an African print." And I mentioned that this is Kufiana and Adjune to them. And then I explained to them the importance of that material. And she was like, "I'm so sorry." And she was genuinely apologetic to me. I'm like, "You don't have to apologize to me." She said, "Can I get your number?" I said, "Why?" She said, "The next time," because she's the leader of the group,
Okay.
"next time we're going for any festival, we'll need to select a fabric that does not degrade the purpose for which it was made." And that was the first time I knew that the, this is important. And so young people are willing to learn, except that the information is not out there. And so I was telling people about what I do and how, I mean, not, I had not taken it as a job. So I speak to people about the importance of that. So one of the students from the Gavi Fellowship program had also come, and we've gone through textile. I mean, go to the markets and source textiles. So he went to this wedding in St. Lucia, and then he sent me pictures of it. He this wedding, the couple had decided that all the guests should come in an African print, and the couple's fabric was very bad. So he was very happy that people were connecting to their roots. So he sent me pictures, and then he said, "Can you help me with the names of the fabric? Because the bride is my cousin or something like that." And the list, as it goes on, is bad. They were not good fabrics. Wafamisengwa literally means that you're taking my love for granted and things. And that's what the bride is wearing. And that's what the bride's parents are wearing.
It's like a bad omen.
Yeah, so like who is taking who for granted? And you're aware that somebody is taking you for granted and you're still going into that relationship. Like clearly tells you that there's a vacuum that needs to be filled. So he got the information, he told them, and then immediately, I mean, they had done their wedding. Immediately, the woman tells me that, "You know what, I'll intentionally wait for next year when we have our anniversary and redo the whole process again. And this time we'll get the people to wear appropriate fabrics." So we had an online conversation, and it was beautiful because they gathered their family and friends, their intimate family and friends. And then I had to bring samples online and show them, this is what this one means, this is what this means. And they sourced those fabrics from GTP. And that's what they used for their anniversary. And so I saw the business opportunity. The research is a mixture of everything. I have the traditional textiles and then I have the cultural textile. So the traditional textiles, they don't change. Tradition doesn't change, it stays the same. So if you're taking Ebusian Edom, you cannot, no matter how you tweak Ebusian Edom, the stools make it Ebusian Edom and they stay like that. You cannot call it any other thing. You can't call Fatia Fata and Chroma any
No matter
other.
how you change the colors, it's the pattern.
No, so the colors actually do change their stories.
Okay.
So the Kente is such that the colors are meaningful. And so once the colors change, it changes the meanings as well.
So we're going to get into the Kente discussion now. Kente is probably the most famous fabric in Ghana. I almost want to say West Africa, but I don't want to be beaten by our neighbors. And I know it's very important to their accounts, especially the Ashanti people. So when we look at Kente and the symbolism and the meanings, why do you think those meanings are so important, not just to we as Ghanaians, but especially as aspects of the fabric have traveled across the Atlantic to our Caribbean brothers and sisters?
So, like before we even get into how it went, I'll take you back to in like the starting. So I also thought that Kente was just to the Asante Kente and the Ever Kente. But when you start reading further, you realize that weaving in itself is not new to the continent. And so weaving has been part of every corner of this continent. So there's in the research, I came across a guy called Ivan Batuta. He had gone around the world 150 years before Christopher Columbus.
Oh, wow.
And he talks about the weaving traditions in Mogadishu. he talks about the indigo dyeing pits in Nigeria, Kano, and it's still there. He talks about a strip weaving technique that looks like this. And so what we call Kente now have existed before.
Yes.
And there's a rivalry between Asante Kente and Ever Kente that needs not to be there. For us to move the conversation beyond us, we shouldn't trivialize the importance of Kente by fighting amongst ourselves who is better, who brought it, because the northern weaving is the same technique.
Yeah.
And it's been there long before there was Volta or there's Ashanti or anything. So I don't put myself in that debate at all. I'm looking at how do we come together as a people and make Kente a brand that is recognized globally and appreciated by everybody. So that moves into our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. And if you go back to Iban Batuta's story, it means that weaving has been with us even before Europeans came. And so we did not learn these things from anybody. So if you're selling Kente, if you're from Barbados, if you're from Jamaica, if you're from any other place in the Caribbean, if you wear Kente, it's not just a borrowed culture from the continent.
It is your culture.
You're part of the story because this is something that your ancestors or your forefathers wore before they took you to the Caribbean islands. So if we start opening up the conversation to tell our young ones that these are things that we used to have, it's not something that a colonial master brought to us, then we are elevating the importance of the textiles. Do you understand? But if we start, this person's fabric is better, that person's fabric is better. I hear people compare Asante Kente to Baole Kente. There's no difference. It's just the partitioning of the continent. You have your brothers and sisters speaking French, and you speak English, and automatically you forget that these are your siblings.
But you are all one.
So Kente, for me, is very important because it tells our true story. It tells us how smart and intelligent our ancestors were and how we've managed to keep the tradition going. And so we're calling on all Black people, wherever they are on the surface of this earth, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in America, whether in Europe, whether you're in Caribbean, to take pride in these materials because these are yours. These are what your ancestors used to wear, and you should carry it forward. You're not competing. It's not cultural appropriation. It's part of your legacy. So own it. And the more they own it, it means that the weaving is happening here. It means that the weavers in this part of the world are going to be empowered economically because people are going to source the authentic ones from Petoi, from Akosombo, from Adahomase, from Bonri. And it means that we're going to make more money. But if we don't put pride in this and we're allowing other people to weave, because I can tell you that the new Kentes that are coming from Asia.
Yes,
and it's crippling the industry. So let us stop the division and come together and promote this unique fabric as our own so that any Black person on the surface of this earth should not be afraid to wear the original.
So not the made outside of Africa. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can't end the conversation here. So tune in next week for part 2.